Hello and welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities right across Scotland. Tonight, a man accused of murder is alleged to have dumped dismembered body parts in Glasgow and in Loch Lomond. It comes after weeks of intensive searches by police officers and forensic teams. Also tonight, doctors are to be balloted for strike action. We'll hear what the First Minister has to say about it. And we will, of course, have all of the sport for you with Lewis. Lewis, what's on the card?
Well, we'll be talking about a hardly believable night at Hampden, Sarah, and how significant a step it is towards World Cup qualification. But I promise I'm not getting carried away just yet.
I'm sure you won't. And later, man's best friend. We meet a man who says his guide dog saved his life. Hello, I'm Sarah McMillan and welcome to the News at 7. Hello there. First up tonight, a man accused of murder is alleged to have dumped dismembered body parts in Glasgow and in Loch Lomond. After weeks of land and water searches, David McCall has been charged with the murder of Graham Wright and defeating the ends of justice. Our reporter Hope Webb has been keeping across the story.
Graham Wright was 38 and lived in the south side of Glasgow, but almost 2 months ago he was reported missing. Then in the middle of last month, part of his remains were found in Loch Lomond at the Ruadú near Firkin Point, prompting a large police search of the area. Now a 50-year-old man, David McCall, has appeared in court charged with murder and disposing of a body. Mr McCall is accused at some point between August and September of killing Mr Wright at a property in the Gorbals. He's then alleged to have dismembered the body. Mr McCall is also accused of disposing of Mr Wright's remains in secret in a wooded area in the city's Castlemilk, as well as Loch Lomond. Mr McCall appeared in private here at Glasgow Sheriff Courts earlier this week, charged in connection with the death of Mr Wright. He faces a second charge of attempting to defeat the ends of justice, as well as 2 further charges of breaching bail. He made no plea and will appear again within the next 8 days. Another man, 53-year-old John Roherty, appeared in court accused of defeating the ends of justice in connection with this case. In recent weeks, police have carried out extensive searches in several locations in and around Castlemilk, including at the Jenny Burns Centre. And today, officers were still there, scouring the site. This marks the 3rd week of their investigations in that area. Inquiries have also been taking place at a former golf course near Cathkin Braes Country Park. Police say they're still treating Mr Wright's death as unexplained and their inquiries are ongoing. Hope Webb, reporting Scotland.
Now, it is just over 6 months until the next Holyrood elections and it's conference season for the political parties. Tomorrow it's the turn of the SNP when the First Minister and SNP leader John Swinney will address delegates in Aberdeen. Our political editor Glenn Campbell sat down with him earlier. Their conversation focused on the state of the NHS following the news today that resident doctors, formerly known as junior doctors, are set to vote on strike action. Their union, the BMA, claimed Scottish ministers had backtracked on a pay deal, and we'll hear from them in just a moment. But first, here's the First Minister.
We've made an offer that's consistent with the discussions that we've had with the British Medical Association. We'll continue to discuss with them. I obviously want to avoid industrial action if I possibly can do. It'll help absolutely nobody, but we've got to live within the resources that we have available to us. But at a general level, what I would say is that my focus is on improving waiting times. We're seeing waiting times falling and we're seeing more people being treated in our National Health Service.
And that's the way. 1 in 9 people in Scotland waiting for something, and some of them are waiting for multiple procedures.
And that is because of the implications of essentially pausing our National Health Service for 2 years during the pandemic.
Yeah, but you were the COVID Recovery Secretary. You're now even more powerful as First Minister. And I suppose the broader question that people would want answered is, Why are things not getting better faster?
What we're doing is that we're taking steps which are now reducing waiting times. So that's what we're doing, and we're seeing that happening in the data that is emerging. We put extra money in to enable there to be more procedures undertaken in the National Health Service. What I would reassure members of the public about is that we're taking all the steps that we can within the resources available to us to make sure that performance matches the expectations of the public in recovering from COVID.
The First Minister, John Swinney, speaking to our political editor, Glenn Campbell there. Well, the chair of the BMA's Scottish Resident Doctor Committee is Dr Chris Smith. He's been watching from our Edinburgh studio and joins us tonight. Good evening, Dr Smith. Just tell us then, you've heard from the First Minister there, his reaction to this news of the ballot. What do you have to say to that?
So I'm really disappointed that we're having to take this step. We've only taken this as a last resort because the Scottish Government has reneged on the deal that we reached with them in 2023. That was the only thing that has stopped industrial action in the past, and we've been clear about that. Resident doctors are still 17% down on when our peers were earning in 2008. And we have worked productively with the Scottish Government over the past 2 years, and we have avoided strike action. The fact that they've gone back on that deal is really worrying for us, and it doesn't show resident doctors that we're valued in the Scottish NHS.
So, Dr Smith, talk us through it then. Why is the offer that they're making not good enough? I mean, it was credible enough to be accepted by nurses and other NHS staff earlier this year.
Well, credibility is a really important word. The deal that we struck with the Scottish Government 2 years ago, and up until now they have been sticking to, was one that in each financial year aimed at discussions having credible progress to restoring our pay. It wasn't just 2 years of credible talks, it was talks for 4 years. And the offer that was put to us wouldn't get us to pay restoration until I was in about my 70s. That is not credible progress. We see this as breaking the deal, and as such we felt we were left with no choice but to act, to stand up for that deal and protect that deal.
So you're saying you've been left with no choice here, but do you think strike action would have public support or sympathy? I mean, many people are facing a real terms pay cut, aren't they?
So I think the public recognise that for a well-functioning NHS, you need to have staff that are well paid, work in good conditions. And ultimately, we want to trust the commitments that the First Minister was talking about. And to be able to trust those commitments and to look after our staff, we need to go back to that deal that was struck with the Scottish Government. We need to get back to working together, negotiating successfully, as we have in the past, to avoid any disruptive strike action. We haven't been on strike, and in fact we're the only resident doctors in the UK who haven't been on strike, and we're already seeing disruption. The resident doctors here aren't the problem. We want to get back around the table and find a negotiated solution.
Do you think the fact that you're the only resident doctors in the UK that haven't undertook strike action yet gives you more bargaining power here?
I mean, whatever gets the Scottish Government to the table is good in my books. What we want to do is get back to the table, avoid industrial action as we have in the past, and the only way to do that is by sticking to the deal that the Scottish Government is looking to renege upon.
OK, Dr Chris Smith, thank you very much for joining us tonight and talking us through all of that there.
Thank you.
Now, the biggest celebration of Gaelic culture and music, the Royal National Mod, opens tonight in Lochaber. Over the next week, up to 10,000 competitors, musicians and visitors are expected to take part, and Ailey Davies has more for you.
The town of Fort William will soon be a hive of activity as the 133rd Royal National Mod gets underway. It's been 8 years since the Mod was last staged here, and as preparations begin for the biggest Gaelic festival, there's great enthusiasm as it returns to Lochaber.
Although we've taken everything into the town centre, we're very mindful that we need to represent that wider area and make sure that we bring parts of that in. And in the Fringe programme, we've been able to do that. We've got a food and drink festival happening on the Thursday, and it's great to have people from the town itself, have it from Strontian, from Malig, all coming in and just making sure that they're all a part of that and can really get involved in Mod Week.
Organisers say it's encouraging that there's increased interest in participants at this year's event.
This is the third year we've seen a trend, an increase in competitor numbers. I think especially pleasing though is the number, the representation from Lochaber itself, and the amount of children that are going forward this year to compete at the National.
This mountainous event in the shadow of Ben Nevis is decorating the look of the town.
I know that the community are extremely excited about welcoming so many people to the town, and you can see just walking down the high street how many shops and hotels and businesses are embracing the mod with banners and posters.
And how do the youngsters feel taking to the stage?
I've competed in 2 national mods, and this will be my third. My first one in Fort William though, so I'm excited because it's where we live, and I think it'll be better here.
It might be a bit scary when you get off and fresh, but when you're done doing it, then you're really quite happy because you've done it.
Gaelic is very much at the heart of the community here still. We've got the flagship Gaelic school, of course, in Lochaber. It's been a kind of hotbed for music as well. It's produced some brilliant musicians and whatnot. All the infrastructure's here as well. We've got a few more halls and venues that we didn't have the last time we were here. We've tried to keep everything, condensed in the town as well, which will create a really good atmosphere.
Ailey Davis reporting Scotland.
OK, now it's that time in the programme. Let's get a roundup of the stories which are making the BBC News app in Scotland today. 2 teenagers will stand trial accused of the murder of a 15-year-old boy in a sword attack in Glasgow. Amin Teckley died after being found seriously injured in March. A cancer patient says she's been left in limbo after travelling from Orkney to Aberdeen for an operation that was cancelled due to faulty sterilising equipment. Firefighters have tackled a large fire that broke out on land near Lossiemouth's East Beach. They were alerted to the incident at around 6:20 last night. A 35-year-old man has died in a single vehicle crash in Livingston. His Audi A6 crashed at the junction of Knightsridge East Road and Lindsay Way at about 8:30 on Thursday. Well, for more information on all of those stories, you can scan that QR code and it takes you to the BBC Scotland News app, where there is so much more there for you. Now, Scotland's first black professor has been celebrated at a memorial service at St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh this morning. Sir Geoff Palmer was Chancellor and Professor Emeritus of Heriot-Watt University and a human rights advocate who arrived in the UK from Jamaica in 1955. He died in June at the age of 85.
Sir Geoff was an amazing, trailblazing individual in Scotland. To go from a Windrush boy to a Knight of the Thistle is some journey, but in between times a very distinguished academic, a pioneer in the field of brewing, and an outstanding academic as well. That's quite a story.
OK, well, still to come, we'll have a full weather forecast with Joy, and we bring you the story of one man whose guide dog brought him a new lease for life. But first, it's Sport Now with Lewis.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Hello there. It was quite simply a remarkable night at Hampden last night as Scotland came from behind to beat a dominant Greece side 3-1, and by doing so took a big step towards qualifying for the World Cup next summer. It was a performance that had a lot of fans in disbelief, and head coach Steve Clarke heaping praise on the never say die attitude of his players. Sheila McLaren looks back on a potentially defining night in the national team's bid to reach the USA, Canada and Mexico.
The smiles that said it all. Elation, relief and perhaps a touch of bewilderment. After a scarcely believable night at the National Stadium, all that matters to Scotland is the result.
We've obviously got a lot of things to work on, it's clear. But what would us as a team and the whole country rather absolutely batter Greece off the park and come away with a draw or a defeat. Tonight we had to win in a different way. We dug deep. What we had was resolve, character, and boys off the bench coming on offering something different, and we managed to get the 3 points no matter what way it came. We are delighted with it, and on to Sunday now.
For more than an hour, Greece were on top, and the atmosphere on a night where they rode theirs, showed character and came out on top, are the World Cup finals now within their grasp. Sheila McLaren reporting Scotland.
A remarkable night indeed. Well, earlier on I spoke to Stephen O'Donnell. I'm at Hampden Park last night.
No, definitely. Look, I was at the game with my son and he was getting relatively bored the first half, but certainly the second half was a lot more exciting and must win. I said a draw would be good, but the win, I felt a must win for us to have any hopes of finishing top. And as I said, after the win, we're sitting level points with Denmark with everything to play for.
No one's going to complain about the result, are they, in the 3 points? But if we look at it a little bit more analytically, Stephen, are you slightly concerned by elements of that performance in terms of moving forward in the rest of the group?
I was under no illusions that the Greek side were going to be good the last night. I think you're happy. I think where we want to be, and we want to be in the same par, if not better than a Greek side. And I think it was slightly underwhelming the first half.
Let's look to Sunday as well then, Stephen. We've got to go into that surely with the attitude of not just win, but win pretty well.
100%. I think you've seen with the result last night with
So well, what do you think he would have said to the team after the result last night that will have just refocused them for Sunday? What do you think his message will have been?
Be simple. There's nothing achieved. We've not qualified. We've not even, you would have said, we need to win on Sunday. And then you come away from an international break with real positivity, really good 2 results, hopefully. And kind of brings the momentum leading into 2 huge games and essentially...
Donald, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us, Lewis. Take care.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Now to rugby, and Gregor Townsend says his new advisory role at Red Bull will make...
Me, the players, the team, and these might just be specific things along, this is how they've set up a facility in football, and we can be more efficient there. I'm expecting to spend some time at Formula One, meet Jurgen Klopp, people like that I can only see as a positive. I mean, it might not always be specific learning that you bring across. So that's really where my focus will be in my role. It's how can I help the national team.
And you can read that full Gregor Townsend interview with Tom, as well as more reaction to Scotland's win over Greece, because you can't quite get enough of that
game. And I'm pleasantly surprised you actually have a voice today.
Yeah, I know. I'm
masking
masking it quite well.
Yeah, he's masking it well. Is it true? Okay. Now, we have this moving story to bring you tonight. Carlos Rodriguez was left despondent after losing most of his sight. He lost his job and his marriage, and he experienced suicidal thoughts. But his life changed after he was introduced to his guide dog, Marine. He's now healthier, happier, and he's helping others through his work for the organisation Guide Dogs. Here's his story.
I was originally born with a visual impairment. My left eye essentially doesn't work. And my right eye, when I was born, had about 25% vision. And then in my 40s, around about 2016, I ended up getting a retinal tear. At that point, they do the operation, and next thing you know, I'm out in the car park with almost no vision. Quickly, you start to realise I can't cope anymore. I was obviously depressed with everything that was going on. There was huge anger issues. I was drinking too heavily, all in efforts to try and cope with the situation I was presented with. Because of, what happened, my marriage fell apart, and it meant my career was effectively over. So all of that happened all quite rapidly within the space of a few years, and I basically couldn't get out of the house after that. So basically that led to a really difficult mental health situation where I was ready to end it. And I'll be quite honest about it. And it was a family member who said, "You do realise you could probably get a guide dog, and is it time?" My life changed dramatically. Before I got Marine, I had ballooned up to 27 stone, so like morbidly obese. Getting out with Marine allowed me I went from essentially couch to 10K. That just changed everything, because it's not just the physical bit where I lost 12 stone. It forced me into learning social skills that I didn't have before. So I became a lot nicer. That anger tamped a lot down. Don't get me wrong, I can still have my days, but I'm a much calmer, much happier person. I wish I'd asked for help sooner, because it's been life-changing. I'm fitter and happier and healthier than I was even before the sight loss. So it's made a huge difference.
That was Carlos Rodriguez speaking there. And if you're suffering from distress or despair and need support, a list of organisations that can help is available for you at bbc.co.uk/action line, or you can call to hear recorded information at any time on 0800 066 066. Now, in coming decades, towns like Peterhead in the northeast of Scotland, built on fishing and oil, will be facing up to the challenges and opportunities of new industries. The question for the town will be, how does it hold on to new generations of residents and workers? Some businesses in Peterhead are actively adapting to attract young local workers, and Ian Hamilton has been finding out more for his series, My Kind of Town. He has this report for us.
Right, we're off.
Is the tide turning in Peterhead?
I grew up going to St Price Primary. I went to Peterhead Academy.
Right.
And I've been sailing since I was about 5 years old.
Young people at Marin love taking to the water in Peterhead. She says she's keen to stay if the opportunities exist.
When I was younger, there was temptation to move down to the Central Belt for work, but I like Peterhead, I like the area, I like the people.
Right. So what's the employment opportunities like then in the town?
It's actually pretty good. I'm on placement just now as an architecture student, and I'm getting to design Peterhead Academy.
Well, that's exciting. Renewables and carbon capture could be the big employers of the future. And for people like Isla, they're already getting a taster in school.
Last year I was part of the Girls in Energy, so I got an AT5 qualification out of that. We learn about energy and renewable energy and offshore energy and how it relates to Peterhead and stuff.
Is it something you might like to go into?
Yeah, maybe.
Not only is Peterhead home to Europe's largest white fish market, it also has some of the world's biggest maritime engineering firms.
We've managed to transfer from the fishing industry into the oil, and we're doing exactly the same into the renewables.
One of them, MDL, have just announced a massive £12 million investment in the town.
Peterhead is absolutely ready for it, and thus the reason for our investment into the new facility. I've seen a lot of changes over the years in the resilience of the town for moving from industry to industry or sector to sector.
A new wave of workers is being trained. It's up to towns like Peterhead to capture that opportunity. Ian Hamilton, reporting Scotland, Peterhead.
And you can see more from Ian and Peterhead in My Kind of Town over on the BBC iPlayer. That is available for you right now. OK, time to take a look at the weather forecast. Joy is with us. What's in the cards this weekend, Joy?
High pressure in charge, which means lots
Lovely.
of dry, settled conditions, although it won't always be sunny. However, today, look at the sunshine, particularly across more eastern spots. We saw plenty of sunshine. The west, rather overcast, but still dry for the most part. And indeed, there were glimmers of brightness. Now, as we go through this week, we do have high pressure in charge. Let's take a wee look. Dry for the most part, as we can see here, settled. And there will be some sunshine, although for many of us it is going to stay on the overcast side. Tonight in more eastern spots, clear spells will be replaced by thickening cloud from the west. That will work its way northwards and eastwards, and then by morning, as we can see, pushing into the northwest Highlands and the Western Isles, more persistent showery rain. The strongest winds in the north will ease, specifically in the Northern Isles. As we can see, for many, definitely not a cold start, the best of the brightness tomorrow morning. First thing, like Dumfries and Galloway, the borders, parts of the Central Belt and the northeast. Here, temperatures at 8 o'clock, 10, 11 Celsius. For the northwest Highlands, cloudier, that showery rain pushing in. There could be some heavier bursts in that. They will tend to make their way northwards and eastwards as the day progresses. Shetland, though, escaping largely dry, albeit on the cloudy side. That rain slowly working towards Orkney in the afternoon. Central Belt and South, though, holding on to the best of the sunshine. Winds easing, that will be especially noticeable in the Northern Isles. And as we can see, highs at best of 15 to 17 Celsius. High pressure still with us as we move through tomorrow night into Sunday. Largely cloudy start, although it will be dry. The best of the early sunshine in more central and eastern spots. As it progresses, especially across the north and the south, we will see that cloud lifting, thinning and breaking. Plenty of sunshine developing. A lovely evening to come across the mainland, staying rather cloudy, however, for the Isles. Quick look again at next week. High pressure sticking with us throughout the week. It will be dry, it will be settled, although particularly for Monday morning it is going to be a cloudy start with plenty of early low cloud mist and fog, but that will quite quickly lift throughout the morning, and then as the day progresses, again an improving picture by late afternoon into the evening. Much more in the way of sunshine from the mainland, although for the Isles still staying rather cloudy. Winds further easing, so actually feeling milder, although we won't see it much warmer. And if you're heading to Lochaber for the rest of the week for the mod, it's going to be dry, it's going to be settled with plenty of sunshine for the most part. That's your forecast.
How lovely, Joy. What a difference from last weekend.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And that's all from us here tonight. Louise Cowie will be here tomorrow. From myself and all the team, thanks for joining us. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.